As important and influential politicians' views are, there are also other important players in the country whose voices must be heard. These belong to the public sector and civil society. In our final story today, we talk to someone with an interesting mix of both. Now a civil society activist and a regular columnist for the Daily News, Renton Alwis was also the chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourist Board. I spoke to him about his vision on post-conflict Sri Lanka. The war is over as the LTTE have been successfully defeated by the government. Now the government has already made plans for the rehabilitation and the resettlement phase, along with working towards a political settlement. Is this adequate to build the country as a nation?
Well, the challenges are many. The war certainly is over, war on terror is over, but we have a war on peace now. Actually, peace building is a huge challenge because this is not like any other situation. We do have a whole generation, almost, our youth, who were born after the 80s or even in the 70s, did not know, much else except a conflict situation, and then there was uncertainty, fear, all the time of terror. It was almost a reign of terror by the LTTE during this period. But we got to build confidence, and as you very rightly said, the government is working on a political solution, but that has to be convincing. There has to be dignity and honor for the Tamil people. They must not feel, and very rightly, like the President always says, that they must not feel that this was a war against the Tamil people, but it was against a terrorist organization. Now we as citizens have a huge responsibility in order to support and also do our bit, both individually and collectively, in order to get us there.
What do you think must constitute as a political settlement?
Well, there are different models. Like right now, the 13th Amendment is on the table. There has to be agreement by all political entities. And finally, we'll have to, whatever solution that we provide, will have to mean that there will be a certain degree of autonomy for the Tamil people, in their governance. And at the same time, there is the unity and the unitariness of the state will need to be maintained. Within that framework, we need to find a solution.
How do you think we can build bridges between communities at this point in time?
Well, there are many ways. Actually, it starts with the individuals. I remember Sinhala students studying at the Jaffna College undergraduate department. There were ex-Trinitians, Royalists and many others from other schools who had been taken there. I mean, those days when you were, not so well disciplined in, in your own situation, you were sent to Jaffna because the discipline was very high and the educational standards were good at the time as well. So there are lots of things that we can reminisce on and share with the youth who had not known, these times. But they have only known conflict, and there is that basic mistrust, between the about the Sinhalese amongst the Tamil youth, most of them, not all. And I think these are things that, these nice stories, that we have, the reminiscences, we must all start relating. And there are also creative pursuits that we can take on. The arts, it's a great healer, theatre, song. Now I think we should really start singing, songs that would bring people together. And then, maybe after the euphoria is over, we should get to the space of really rebuilding. Then there is cricket. Like I said, sports, our cricketers can do a great lot there. And other sports, all of this must come together.
So what you're saying is involving the younger generation is important in the rebuilding
Very,
process.
because I think it's the young. I mean, if you see pictures of any demonstration, whether it be in Australia or in Germany or any other place, you see a lot of young people. Because this generation, as I told you, they have heard only negative stories. They've seen only the conflict. They haven't heard anything positive or anything, they have only heard one side of the story. So I think it's very, very important that trust building begins there.
And finally, what sort of steps should we take as a nation to ensure a lasting peace in the country?
Well, as I said, there are several layers, of players in this effort. Of course, we have the political leadership. Now we have, as the President calls, the Shad Maha Balavega, adding on to the earlier, the groups, the defense forces. They can be a huge catalyst in the rebuilding process, and I think that is a good thing to do, to divert positive energies, of theirs, and the hard work ethic that they have in the nation rebuilding process. And then, of course, you have us. You have the business community, you have the private sector, you have the farmers, you have the the small and medium sector, and the average citizen, and our children. All of them should participate. So we have a huge process of educating, and then involving, and then, of course, getting the right ideas. And I think the leadership is now, is giving the right directions. After all the celebrating that has taken place, I think we will need to go back into solid work. And the President has said that he was going to do that. And we must believe. The most important thing is that we must put aside skepticism at this time and then support the efforts, because it is we are all stakeholders, and we have a lot at stake, and we can't afford to make one more mistake, because this may be the last opportunity we have.
Thank you, Mr. D. Alwis, for talking to me today.
Mr. D. Alwis's optimism is encouraging, as his conviction that there are many avenues of opportunity to take advantage of at this significant time in our history to make sure that peace will be long-lasting. If you have any comments about the program, please write to us at srilankatoday@yartv.net. Thank you for watching. Until next week, goodbye.